Shrek was a little ogre, and he wanted to be an actor. He had no friends, but he did have a pet dragon with him in the swamp. The dragon was named Fiona, who was very beautiful. She loved Shrek, but she didn't want to marry him because she said that there were too many obstacles. It is not easy being an actor or a princess for that matter. There are always other people getting in your way. Like you might meet someone else more attractive than yourself, like Puss, and then all of a sudden you're just an ugly person again. Or perhaps you could get married to someone better than the one you love right now. But what if you discover after the marriage that they aren't really as nice as you thought they'd be? What happens when they turn out to be cruel and nasty creatures that hate everything that's good and decent about life? How do you know how to choose between so many choices? These were some of the questions that Shrek faced while trying to find his destiny. As part of his training, he went to New York City where there were lots of interesting things happening. He met a lot of famous actors who helped him understand many of these dilemmas. There was Donkey, who told him that it is important to keep working hard. Shrek learned it from Fiona's father, Lord Farquaad, that although fame can make you feel special and powerful, it does not necessarily make you a good person. And finally, Shrek learned something from Pinocchio, who told him that he should never lie to anyone, even if it will help him in the long run. All of this wisdom was helpful, but none of them answered the question of which path Shrek should follow. One day, Shrek went back to the swamp where he met up with Princess Fiona, who was talking to an old woman. "What is she doing here?" Shrek asked. Fiona looked at her mother, who replied, "She came to visit me." "I'm sorry, Shrek, but we must go." With a heavy heart, Shrek followed the two women out of the swamp. That night, Shrek dreamed about the dream that he had seen when he was young. He saw himself as a knight on a horse with a sword and shield. His face was covered by a mask, and he wore a white cloak. The dream ended with the words, "I am the hero." Shrek woke up and realized that those words meant that it was time to become the heroic figure that he needed to be to save Princess Fiona. He left the swamp and followed the road to New York. He arrived in the city where he was greeted by a parade that celebrated the opening of a new theme park called Shrek's Adventureland. The next morning, Shrek went to see the park and spoke to the manager of the attraction. He offered to perform for free in exchange for a chance to audition for the role of Prince Charming in a play being put on at the attraction. Shrek was allowed into the audition room, and after performing the scene several times, the director noticed that Shrek was quite talented. He asked Shrek to stay behind for another scene, and then he asked him to stay longer than that. Soon enough, Shrek found himself staying at the park until it closed each evening. After all of this, Shrek had gotten used to the way of life there, and he was happy to know that he would be able to continue living in New York. But once again, Shrek had to ask himself, is this the right thing to do? Why did he need to move to New York City in order to be a hero? Shrek decided that the answer to this question was obvious. If he wanted to become a hero, he needed to live in a place where heroes and villains live together. So he took a bus to law and enrolled at the university there. During the first few days, Shrek was enjoying his classes. He had decided that he wanted to study drama, and his teacher was very enthusiastic and knowledgeable. Shrek was particularly interested in the class he was taking on Shakespearean acting. He was surprised when he saw Willy Wonka sitting in front of the classroom. He recognized him immediately from the movie, The Chocolate Factory. Shrek was curious to learn more about the famous actor, and he sat down next to the man. Willy Wonka turned around and smiled at Shrek. "Hello, Shrek," he said. "How are you?" "I'm great, thanks, Willy Wonka. It's a pleasure to meet you." "You're welcome, Shrek. My name is Willy Wonka." "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Wonka. I'm Shrek." "Nice to meet you too, Shrek. Would you like to come over to my house for dinner tonight?"